Over 3 months and 6 races, the run for the Contender Series tore through road courses, short tracks, triangles, dirt, and everything in between in an all-around test. But after all of the twists and turns, all of the races, the glimpse at the second step to eNASCAR glory leaves one last obstacle in the way where 70 come in and where only 20 will advance. That last obstacle lies here, where tonight from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, we welcome you to the final race in round 2 of the 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Welcome to our coverage of the final step to the second step for eNASCAR right here on Podium Esports, where alongside Rachel Whiteford for one last time in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. We'll have Ryan Bauer being our producer tonight. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Rachel, trials, tests, obstacles, challenges, you name it, everything and the sink has been thrown at this field of 70, looking to advance to the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series later this fall. And tonight is decision time. All of the races we've had have led us up to this point, but Texas, really the finale. When we wave that checkered flag, we know who's going to go on to the next round and the drivers that are going to have to wait until 2023.
Yeah, we absolutely do, and where better to do this than Texas Motor Speedway? Everything's bigger in Texas, including the stakes in this championship really for some of these guys, because some trucks on the cusp here could have the race of their life. And with the stakes given some retirements coming up, we could have some insanely big stakes given the field size and who will make it through. So everything's in flux at the moment.
And the stakes are very high. We are going to go to the details of the point standings in just a little bit, but first of all, we'll take a look down to Texas Motor Speedway, where we are and our stage for this final race of the 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. It's a bit of a diversion from the usual all-around type of tracks that we've had in this round 2 schedule, more the normal intermediate track, but still a very unique challenge. 1.5 miles, 2.4 kilometers in length. It opened back in 1996, but this version of the Texas Motor Speedway is the newly reconfigured version that happened back in 2017. So you've got 20 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2, a slower part of the track, and then you have the fast turns 3 and 4, 24 degrees of banking you'll find on that side of the speedway before you come out of turn 4 and find that quad oval configuration and the start finish line. Our race analysis, Rachel, we go 100 laps, similar to all of the other intermediate races we've had earlier in the season in round 1. 150 miles, 240 kilometers, 3 sets of tires in the pits, no fast repairs, open setups, 3 green-white checkered attempts if we need them. So same rules apply just like any other 1.5 miler, but you can look at this race analysis and you're going to tell that every single driver in this group, whether they are locked in or not, are going to try their hardest to get to the checkered flag and to have a chance to get to a contender, or at least get over the hump in that cut line.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And Texas poses its own unique challenge, of course. The two different corners here have different banking. Now, we have about 20 degrees in 1 and 2, and we have 24 degrees in 3 and 4. And it does make for an interesting challenge compared to a lot of the regular, just call them cookie cutter triangles. This doesn't feel that way. It definitely has a unique flavor to it. Exiting 2 can be incredibly treacherous here depending on the weather, and it can definitely result in it being quite difficult for the drivers. So we'll have to see how they can put this one through. In a big field, it can be really troublesome, but it is going to be the one that feels so familiar that will have the most stakes. You know, you'd think that would be Bristol Dirt or any of the other places on road tracks, but no. It's not IRP. No, it's Texas. It's the one place that people didn't think would be a big deal. Is the big deal.
It is going to be a big deal when it comes down to seeing which drivers are going to advance into the fall in the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series later this year. We do have a little bit of a shakeup. Usually, we'd have the top 20 in points in this series go on to the next round and face the bottom 20 that come out of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series once that season closes in just a couple of weeks' time. But with 2 announcements for retirements from the Coke Series top level, Logan Clampett and Liam Brotherton, we're going to have 22 advance in full here tonight. We have 7 drivers currently locked in. It all starts with Tucker Minter, then Parker White, Joey Brown, Andrew Navarro, Jordy Lopez Jr., Kenny Brady, and Michael Cozy Jr. So all of them not having to worry about the festivities here tonight from Texas. They're going to still look to gain some high momentum before the Contender Series starts in November. But for everybody else, it means that they're going to try their hardest to stay above the cut line, or for the drivers below 22nd to try their dearest to get over it and to advance in the very last race of the round. Just a couple of moments before we wave the green, but it is our time to take you trackside and show you through our starting grid for this final race in this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. And it starts with one of the drivers locked in to the next round already. Parker White sets the fastest time in qualifying, a 29.478. He'll be the first one to see the green flag. He will have Daniel Budafoco to his outside, one of the drivers near the cut line in the top 20. Into row number 2, you'll find Brendan John Kohler in the 10 machine. He starts inside of that second row P3. He will have Blaze Crawford to his outside in P4. Locked in driver to contender Kenny Brady, looking to end this season on a high note in his 54 truck. He starts inside the top 5, and he will have also locked into contender driver Tucker Minter to his outside in P6. Ryan Doucette, part of a trio that went 1-2-3 at Bristol Dirt a couple of weeks ago. He's going to look to try and get P1 this time through at Texas. He rolls off from 7th. He will have James Wenzel to his outside in P8, and Rachel, the final 2 drivers in the top 10, Johnny Avila in the 17 and Kevin King in the 29.
Absolutely. Well, it's Jackson Crowder in the 54 truck in 11th place, with Boyd Hogan in 12th in that 96 truck as the field start to pull out here. You've got Garrison Hogan in the 3, with Santiago Tires in the 17 and 14th place. Row number 8 is going to be Dalton Collins in the 95, with Matt Cocker on his outside in the 12 truck. Row number 9, Brian Blackford in the 33, with Daniel Nanny in the 18 truck there. Row number 10 is Kyle Mayers and Alex Bergeron, with those final drivers. Row number 11 going to be Casey Tucker in the 28 and Brandon McKissick in the 53. And that is your field.
Casey Tucker and Brandon McKissick lining up that last row. None of them took qualifying time. That's why you see the D and Q on their starting grid graphic. So they're going to be starting deep in this field. Going to need a lot of work to do by the time we get to the end of this race. And Rachel, we've been covering it all throughout the start of round 1 and the beginning of round 2, and even throughout the entirety of round 2 as well, just how pivotal each race is for the point standings. But now it's your final chance for these drivers. What are your final thoughts for them as we're getting set to wave the green from Texas?
Go fast, turn left, and keep it on the black stuff and try and stay away from the wall. This is as basic a track as we can get for this. This is as critical a moment. Just do it right and don't hit anything.
Very simple motto. We'll see if the field can accomplish that goal. Parker White, Daniel Budafoco will be the first 2 to see the green flag as the field comes out of turn 4. Pace car will make that very dear left to the entrance of the pit lane, and as Parker White brings the field into the restart zone and to the green flag for the first time, we go racing in the final race of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series from Texas.
Good start here by the front of the field. Parker White making a good jump here with Budafoco behind him there. Side-by-side trucks, the 5 of the 2, they've got Crawford and Minter just a little bit further back. Need to find their spacing here because too wide this early is not going to be too beneficial for your positioning around Texas. But we're going to see 3 and 4, definitely a faster exit for this corner here. You've got a much bigger kick out towards the triangle here, but 1 and 2, it's really tight, and I think with the way the weather's looking, we could see some people getting loose out of 2 at the moment. It's a little on the cooler side, so we'll see.
Still rather hot track temperature, over 100 degrees. We watch the battle continuing for P5. That is Blaze Crawford working against Tucker Minter. Right on board a little further back with the Logitech Gialtis Esports teammate of that Tucker Minter machine, Ryan Doucette, behind him trying to make some work as they enter 3 and 4. And so far, no clear winner between Crawford and Minter coming out of the final corners. They come back to the quad oval, and Parker White has clear sights up ahead, clean air given to him as he will lead the field through lap number 3. But you are right, Rachel, 3 and 4, a lot faster of a part of the track than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 because you've got less banking. It's somewhat tighter in a sense. You're going to have to slow down for that part of the track, which can create some induciveness for some sideways action where drivers are going to light up the rear tires, potentially kick out the rear ends like we've seen a lot of drivers do over many of the tracks in this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. But 3 and 4, especially at this point in the race, fresh tires, you're flat out to the floor, 100% full throttle with these high downforce trucks as the field goes through single file. And I figure, Rachel, that being on the outside in 3 and 4 where you're full throttle isn't necessarily the best place. Crawford noticed that. He falls back to 7.
Yeah, just in the background of the shot there, we saw Avila going backwards. He was too wide a little bit. We're getting some shuffling further down the field, but right now everyone's finding that groove here and getting a good run. Brady's won so far, and as it's Minter, those two have made some progress. Wenzel is up 2 spots, and we've got Blaze Crawford down about 3 at the moment, so a little bit of movement, but on ton up here in the top 10 as we go into the first part of this race, and 100 laps, it doesn't feel like a lot to end. It's such an amazing Road to Pro this season. It's been so good for these guys. We've seen some phenomenal racing, and it just doesn't feel like it's this close to the end.
It has been fantastic, Rachel, and on behalf of our broadcast crew, we've been blessed to be able to bring you the coverage of this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series in 2022, and I'm sure the folks over at ftf.gg, they've had a lot of fun, and they've also brought you great coverage of the even split. Of course, in this second round of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, we've got the 2 splits, both snake splitted between the drivers where they finish in each and every race. So they're having the coverage right now on FTF_GG. Out on Twitch, we've got a battle a little bit further back through the top 10. Watch between Dalton Collins and Johnny Avila. 2 of these drivers going at it. It looks like Collins makes quick work of Avila's number 17 machine. And going into this race, Rachel, we look at the cut line. We had to move it back to 22nd. The last driver holding that spot is Daniel Smallwood at the moment. 2 points behind 20th place Wyatt Tinsley, who's holding that gap. But you look all the way down to the list, and even Dalton Collins, both him and Johnny Avila, 12 points out from 20th. But since we have to move it back to 22nd, they are a total of 10 points out from advancing into the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. So if there is one thing on the minds of Collins and Avila, is that they're going to have to do a lot of work, and these spots up ahead are going to be absolutely crucial if they want to secure a spot.
They are, and you have to remember, you're not just racing the guys in this split, you're racing the guys in the split as well. So it really matters, and you're not going to really know how you finished if you're on the cusp there until after the race. So it's going to be really hard work. You're just going to go for the best you possibly can and dig. But hey, it's not over till the fat lady sings or till Dave waves a flag.
You're right on board with Santiago Tires, one of our winners in round 1 of Road to Pro. He won at Las Vegas Motor Speedway off of a very brave fuel strategy call. He is yet to get to victory lane in Road to Pro since, but Tires has had a solid season so far. He currently rides 18th though. I know it's a drop of the green flag, only 9 laps. So not expecting a huge amount of progress this early, but Santiago Tires is going to look to start that trek as soon as he can. Here's a nice little battle near the rear of the field. This is Matt Cooker on top of, actually underneath that is Alex Bergeron on top, and here comes Casey Tucker to the inside. So a couple of drivers trying to tussle for the entrance into the top 20 in this race. And one thing that we noticed, Rachel, going into tonight's event when we saw the registry list is that there is not that many trucks out on track. In this race or in the second split, a lot of drivers have pretty much already set their fate. A lot of guys know that they're out of contention to get into contender later this year, so they're not going to try anymore. They're not going to put themselves out on the racetrack if they know their results and their circumstances. So we've seen some of the truck numbers decline in the entry list over the past couple of weeks, and for some cases, Rachel, that could be a concern for those guys buried deep within the points that need a solid run. In between this split and the even split to get into contender, having less trucks means less points on the line, and it makes the journey so much tougher.
It does, yeah, that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. That maybe they don't want to mess up other people's races because they know they're out of the contention, but in a way, yeah, it does drop the points pool somewhat for these drivers, so it's a double-edged sword, really. There's no way to do and to do not. But as it stands, these guys are keep going for this thing, keep it moving here, and Parker White, Botafogo, Cola, Brady, Crawford, they're just stuck in line here around the bottom, running this thing like a roller coaster. Lap number 12 here. What's your vibe, Kenneth? I'm feeling green flag stops here at Texas, which is its own concern, because this isn't exactly the world's easiest pit road.
No, it's not. Definitely isn't. And I am feeling the same. I'm feeling a very calm race at the moment, and I can tell the antsiness isn't really present, especially at the front of the field. I mean, you look at the circumstances. Parker White locked in. Tucker Minter locked in. Blaze Crawford is a solid amount of points above that cut line. While yes, he needs to make sure he doesn't fall out of the top 22, he's secured as long as he can hold the spot into the top 5, top 10. Just have an uneventful evening from Texas. Kenny Brady locked in. You look at guys like Brendan John Kohler, who's slightly above the cut line in the top 22, but where he sits right now in P3 is a solid place where he can easily get himself into the Contender Series later this year. So got a lot of guys that in their spots right now are comfortable with where they're sitting. So the antsiness, that desperation isn't really kicking in. I can imagine though, Rachel, once we get to our first round of stops, and maybe sooner than we expected, because we've got a truck around. That is the 21, Brian Blackford, around to give us our first caution at lap 15.
Yeah, 33 of Blackford there. Unfortunately had a bit of a run around. It's unfortunate for Brian, the guy who has in the past been in the Coke Series, trying to work his way back in here, and I think he got a little assist, if I am correct here, from the 12 truck. He kind of came down across the nose there, so it's a tough one, but Mayers was involved.
And Kyle Myers moved his nose to the inside of Brian Blackford. That's exactly what sends Brian Blackford around. You'll see it once more here. It looks like Kyle tries the last-ditch effort to get to the inside, has his nose there at the very last second. You can tell Brian Blackford really isn't anticipating him to make that move. In more cases than not, the driver there in Blackford's position would probably just anticipate that the driver behind is going to back out and then just keep their positions where they are. But with that miscommunication, they both make contact, and Brian Blackford goes hard into the outside safer barrier, and he drops to dead last, 22nd in this race. Some tough early struggles for the driver of the 21. But Rachel, we've got drivers on pit road, basically everybody making a stop for fuel and some tires to extend their stint. Parker White gonna lead them all in.
12 laps in the book, yeah, I think it's absolutely good. Or 15 now, I should say. Pitting is a no-brainer, because right now it will extend this stint. You're going to take full tires, full fuel, and this moves the pit window somewhat. It gives you options, because it's either the next caution or, you know, you're looking at a better green flag run. At this point, the tires have lost their best. It'll be nearly 20 by the time you go back to green. But that can change the strategy significantly, especially with another caution, maybe some fuel saving. You'll be in a good spot.
As the field comes out of pit road, it'll be all Parker White leading them out. Daniel Budafuoco almost had a shot at the 95 machine, but kind of backed out of the last second once they reached that end of the line. And so Budafuoco will hold second, Brendan John Kohler third, Kenny Brady fourth, Blaze Crawford fifth. Virtually no changes at all in this top 5, and that goes the same for a majority of the field. Brian Blackford onto pit road to get some damage repair. He's already fallen 1 lap short of the competition. Well, if you want to learn more about the growing world of eNASCAR, you can scan the QR code on the bottom right of your screen or visit eNASCAR.com and sign up today to get all the latest news and updates from this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series in 2022, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series playoffs, and much, much more. No, Rachel, they had a fantastic Coke Series race a couple of days ago, Talladega Super Speedway, where it came down to the line. Casey Kerwin, Colin Bowden, banging doors to the start-finish line. And then Bobby Zelensky, who's just kind of hanging behind them, says, okay, you guys are going to do all the work there. You guys are going to start slowing each other down. Here I come. And Zelensky crosses the line first. He advances into the championship for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And that is maybe a thought process, Rachel, for a lot of these guys who are trying to lock into contender, because they know they're going to be facing the bottom 20 or so that are coming from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series that fell out in points from relegation. And then if they've got enough confidence that they can advance from contender to the Coke series, they've got to worry about guys like Bobby Zelensky, Steven Wilson, and the likes in the playoffs, and the guys in the top 20 up there.
Yeah, I think they will. And I think a lot of them are already worrying about who they're going to be facing, and contender will be a real mixing pot. But it's a different car for both fields, so it will be a level playing field of sorts. And it's no reason to say these guys who are coming up here will be any worse or better than the guys coming down, or them better or worse. So we could see a really good mixture of racing there, and a good mixture of different talents, which I think will produce a fantastic contender series this season, and are probably one of the best we've actually had.
And there's a lot of young talent, a lot of returning names, and a lot of people that have been around in the sim for a while, again, trying their shot and getting into contender with the ultimate goal of getting to the eNASCAR or Coca-Cola iRacing series in 2023. You think about Parker White, a very young driver who just entered the sim a couple of years ago. In fact, 2020 really was where he started at around 2K iRating, and then insanely shot up in iRating and shot up in skill, and then decided to go for Road to Pro this year. You look at Daniel Buttafuoco, who's been one of the hottest streaking drivers in the eNASCAR College iRacing series as well. Brendan John Kohler, he's been a standout name. Kenny Brady, he's been around the sim for a while. He's been a strong driver as well. There are so many drivers that we can point out, not only in this split, but in the other split over on FTF.GG. So many guys with so much talent behind the wheel in the sim, and they may be a possible force to be reckoned with if they can qualify into the Coke Series next year. But you are right, 3 different types of cars. You can't really translate the same fundamentals of the truck and you can to Xfinity, because downforce levels are different, the power level is different, the way they handle is just so much of a trip the other direction. And so we'll see how that adjustment happens for the guys that are locked in and the ones that are looking to get in for the moment. Fresh tires for the entire field. It'll be the same look up at the very front. Parker White, Daniel Buttafuoco to lead us back to green. It'll be on Parker White's discretion to lead us out of turn 4 and hop into the restart zone. Pace car will make its way down to the entrance of pit road, and it's all eyes on that Toyota Care Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. It's an early launch for Parker White to clear Buttafuoco before they get to the start-finish line. Green flag back in the air, lap 19.
Yeah, here we go, nearly on that lap 20 mark, like we mentioned, and it's nearly 3 wide there towards the front, but it's going to be Minter, Crawford, and Brady, but keeping themselves in line here, behaving themselves out of 2. So let's not forget, this was our first real incident we saw there on 15, and that was a little bit of a nudge. We're not really thinking the real danger zones of Texas, so that's one thing to keep an eye on. And this really delays what we were talking about, was the green flag pit stop conundrums, because I think Texas is one of the few tracks where I've seen most yellow flags fly during green flag stops.
That is definitely true, and one thing that goes to the conduciveness of yellow flags is just drivers converging together in the lane. You see the entire field, basically, apart from some others there near the rear of the field, they're all hugging the inside line, and that is by design, Rachel. With the new configuration that happened back in 2017, the inside is the best place to be for speed and for saving rubber. There's a lot of space up to that outside wall, but a lot of the track really isn't usable for momentum's sake. So you're looking at a majority of the field wanting to go to that very bottom, and I saw it there with Kenny Brady earlier, and you're seeing it here in a battle further back through the field. You do not want to be on that very high side, because if you're like Garrison Hogan right now, speed may be there in some cases where you can pinch the driver down low, but you may get freight trained by the whole field if you make a mistake.
I suppose we can go kind of in the entry to the corner, but mid-corner and exit, you don't want to be there. It will cost you more than you can gain, and you're not going to see anyone really make any motion being up there, so it's one of those desperation positions where you really want to force it back out. Really the only opportunity, I'd say.
And really, we're seeing the back out effort for a lot of guys who are getting stuck on that high side. I saw Kenny Brady, who was on the outside on the most recent restart. He got trapped by a couple of trucks. He got passed by some. Tucker Minter, Blaze Crawford got by him, and then he decided to just fall back, not fight them any longer, and just go straight for the inside of the racetrack and tuck in behind Tucker Minter in that 10 machine. It already happened with Johnny Avila in the 17. He got pushed up to the high side as they continued to battle up in front of him. Daniel Nanny and Garrison Hogan going at it for P12 going into turn 1. But Avila noticed it, saw his situation, and said, I am not going to risk the outside. Although he taps the outside wall for a moment out of turn 2, he's going to be able to keep the truck straight. No significant damage to the right front. But it's just a testament of how useless that outside line is for the most part in carrying momentum and trying to gain track position.
You know, someone just raised an interesting question in the production booth. Hey, if you're a Coke driver out there and you're watching this, who are you most afraid of heading into Contender, either to make it through Contender or to face in Contender? Let us know, and let us know why. I'm sure I'd like to hear some opinions on that front, but one who I can definitely see making it all the way, Kenneth, the likes of Parker White. He's been a very strong contender, and this is the reason why this second round has been the round of topsy-turvy races. Parker White's name's always been at the front of the card, no matter what track we've been on. Road course, short track, crazy track, cookie cutter. He's always been there.
And that is definitely true. You watch here the 95 machine of Parker White. Well, we're accustomed to seeing this Toyota service centers, Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. He's sported this scheme for pretty much the entirety of Road to Pro this year. But you are right, though, Rachel. And one thing to notice about Parker White, when you look at his skill set that spans all different types of tracks and different types of disciplines in racing, look at the wins reflective of that in Road to Pro. His first one came at Bristol Motor Speedway, not on the dirt that we had a couple of weeks ago, but on the asphalt earlier this year in round 1. Then got a second win of the year at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, a 1.5-mile intermediate track, and then backed it up with another win to kick off round 2 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, which is a road course. So all 3 different types of tracks, short track, intermediate, and road course, Parker White has been there. And even at some of the other tracks that we've seen in this schedule, we've always seen that truck around at some point. So Parker White, the main native, one of the strongest in the series. And like we mentioned earlier at the top of the show, he is one of the handful, the 7, that are automatically locked in. They locked in from Bristol Dirt a couple of weeks back, so they have no worries at all going into tonight's race. And what they're just going to do is just try to gain some momentum. And that's going to help as well, Rachel. Even if you're a driver locked in, there's something to be fought for, because if you can win this race, if you can do what Parker's doing right now and controlling the tempo, leading this race, leading laps, being confident in your setup, and having a possibility to win the race, you know you're locked in, yes, but you go in a contender with such a high wave of momentum that it's going to be hard to shake once you start contender in November.
It's not just that, you also dictate who goes through with you, because if you're winning and somebody else needs to win, they don't go through. So that could be an important one as well to consider. The real test, I think, will be when we see these guys go into contender and how they face off against the Coke guys and what we see from that.
Here's a look on board with Garrison Hogan in a fight right now with Johnny Avila. This is for 13th on the racetrack. We've seen them close to each other, frankly, the whole entirety of this run ever since they went for some stops under our first yellow. May have a battle up ahead the road. It looked like Daniel Nanny tried to peek his nose underneath Dalton Collins and his machine, but they're just going to back out. And right ahead of them here, Rachel, is a driver that we have talked about a little bit throughout this series, but not intensely. That is the 29 machine of Kevin King, a driver for the team. Here's a look on board with a Chevy Silverado as he currently racks at the top 10, working on the 77 of Ryan Doucette. Kevin King comes into this race only one point, Rachel, out of the top 22. He was listed as 26 on our points, thanks to Garrett Mashburn, one of our statisticians, along with Derek Watson, who have been providing some great things for us this year in Road to Pro competition on Podium Esports and our coverage. But Kevin King, so close to entering the Contender Series. Right now in 10th, maybe this run is good enough, but he has to look at the competition around him, and it seems as though for the likes of Falkingham, Garrison Hogan, Daniel Smallwood, Kyle Myers, and Wyatt Tinsley, seems like he may be beating them on that front. So Kevin King looking to finish this strong and get over the cut line. One of the drivers that we'll be talking about that's under and having their back against the wall going into tonight's race.
Yeah, he really has to watch out for that. I think it's so big a factor. When it comes to this race, you cannot afford to make that mistake. So they've got to get themselves into the right situation here to hold this one through. But it's starting to spread here, which is a good thing for some of those drivers at the front. It's bad if you're in the midfield here. They really need to find more room. But I really want to see what we get to once we get the tyres past 20 laps or 25 laps or so. I want to see if these guys start breaking loose, because that will be a huge game changer if we go long and green.
Well, we have seen, Rachel, some guys smack the outside wall, most notably out of turn 2. We may see it out of turn 4 if they end up wearing their right front significantly, but you are right. Really, lap number 20, 25 in a run is where you start to see that tire cliff fall. And right now, drivers are reaching 17 laps into a stint. And also to note as well, top 7 have broken away. The last driver in that top 7, James Wenzel, who is below Kevin King, 5 points out of the top 20, but a total of 3 points out of the top 22. As here's a battle around the top 2. Daniel Budafoco finally under fire. Here comes Brendan John Kohler to the inside for second.
That could be a big move for second place there. Kohler gets that truck nosed where it needs to be for a pass. The low side is where you want to be, because you can hold that line better. 4 will struggle, especially higher up coming out of 2 here. He'll have to back out the throttle. But he's got the pull there from White ahead. That might just keep him in here. But look at this. The 5 is all over them. The gap is going to start to open up here. If they can't decide this positioning, look how close they are. A little bit of side drop there trying to make some difference. But the 5 isn't sure who to back on this one.
And the problem might happen around Parker White, because it looks like, well, at least the problem not for Parker White, but for everybody behind him, because as Brendan John Kohler and Daniel Buttafuoco continue to run side by side, they're only reeling in Blaze Crawford, Tucker Minter, Kenny Brady, James Wenzel, all those guys behind them, and they are practically letting Parker White run away with the lead, and now they're going side by side even further behind them for P4. Look at Tucker Minter now, Rachel, underneath Blaze Crawford.
This is what happens. You start to get one or two people running side by side, then everyone bottles up, and you get this. Before manages to defend and get himself back in line there, but he's created some congestion.
Tucker Minter going to back out of the fight against the 4 machine of Crawford, but Crawford's going to try on Brendan John Kohler. He's going to try to work the outside. He may indefinitely clear him. He's going to look for another one there, but just gets the door shut by Buttafuoco going into turn 3. The 13 notices said, no way, you are not going to take this away from me. Watch this, 3 wide out of turn 4. Here comes Kenny Brady to the very inside.
That's optimistic through the tri-oval. This will end up going well into 1 and 2 as 10 there drops out. Kohler very sensibly pulls out the 3 wide there. It could actually give an advantage though as they come down the back straight here, as these two being side by side. Will they take it to the low side? He's not going to go for it yet. He'll stay in line here, hold that low side. This guy's getting racy 20 laps onto these tires.
And what a run it's been for Blaze Crawford, making the moves methodically at the right time, and he has a possibility to enter second. He will cross the line to have second, so he will lead ahead of the 13 back to turn 1. But Buttafuoco will have the run back down low, and again, they are only opening their gap between themselves and race leader Parker White. It's roughly half a second now. It was basically non-existent before they started going door to door. This is what happens when you go side by side at any track. You're going to lose some amount of time. And for the moment, Buttafuoco is holding on. Crawford trying to maintain the pressure, and Tucker Minter waiting in the ranks in P4. Finally, Crawford makes the move, so he will clear for second. Crawford on the move at this point of the race, and now here comes Minter on the outside of the 13.
Yeah, here he goes again, trying to find another way around this one, but not sure it's going to be enough right now. But they're getting so racy. White and Crawford are pulling away here, and that's important to keep an eye on. You don't want to race too hard, or you will lose those guys in front of you. Yeah, you got to do it at some point or other, but when you got this big nest of trucks, it's just going to take a long time. You're going to bottle people up. No one's really got the drag because the draft is equalizing everyone's overall speed.
They will maintain. Looks like Buttafuoco's pace has significantly dropped off here, Rachel. At this point in the run, you said around lap 25 is where we would start to see the effects of the tires get onto the field. We're at lap number 24, so we're starting to feel it at the moment. Here comes Tucker Minter, help from Kenny Brady and Brendan John Kohler, that trio working on the inside. Buttafuoco now having to fend up top, and another Logitech Gialtis Esports truck making their way into this mix. How about James Wenzel? And how about Kevin King, who's moved up to 8th, and he has a possibility to tango with these guys going back to turn 1.
Yeah, he really does. They're really knotted up tight here, and this is danger territory. Old tires, racing this tight. If we don't have an incident in turn 2 soon, I'm going to be impressed as they dive to the bottom there.
Oh, look at the move there. A bit of a bumper hit there from Kenny Brady to Daniel Buttafuoco as the 13 tries to stop the bleeding. He blocks the momentum out of the 54. And for now, that single file train only getting more antsy this time through as we cross the line for lap number 42 of 100, edging in to our official halfway mark here for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Kenny Brady still down low. There's James Wenzel working underneath Brendan John Kohler. Kevin King, that red and white number 29 on the very outside. They have let the top 3 run away, but how about the speed emerging out of Blaze Crawford here, Rachel, has closed in on your leader last time by as they cross the line, setting a 31.309, slower than your leader as they did it this time through. Last time, though, he was faster, and he has closed in 0.3 of a second between P1 and P2.
Yeah, he's closed in now, but look at the gap between 2 and 3. That gap is just over a second as this knot of trucks here absolutely swapping back and forth in a dogfight here. My gosh, yeah, this is getting a little bit interesting because we're seeing this big group slowing each other down. These 22 breaking away, and Crawford is closing on White. This could be a story of White's tires, though.
And tires are starting to become a big factor, especially as more of these guys start to puncture in the battle, because Blaze Crawford hadn't really unleashed all this speed up until this point. Look at the same deal here for the likes of Kevin King, who was kind of hanging around the mid-pack. Now is when he's really starting to attack, and we talk about guys like Kevin King, like James Wenzel, Rachel, that going into this race have that slight bit of a deficit to the drivers in the top 22 to advance to the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series in November. So now I pose the question, how much as a driver under the cut line are you willing to risk at this stage of the race going to halfway in order to gain those much needed points?
I think it's the time where you want to risk it all because there's so much opportunity still. With the cut line being so broad now, there's a bunch of guys super close to each other who could really benefit from this. Before it was like 2 trucks, now it's about 5.
Look at Jackson Crowder on the backside of the screen. He's trying to go against Brendan John Kohler, and once again, Daniel Buttafogo under some fire. So that 13 machine has had a slight drop off, and he has significantly fallen through the field, and hopefully he'd be able to stop it. Maybe a yellow could halt the progress, or maybe just other drivers behind them burning their stuff up before the 13 does. But he has been put in side-by-side battle after side-by-side battle. This time through, I think he recognizes the fact that he's losing more time to the likes of James Wenzel and company, so he will let the 29 of Kevin King move through. He'll give him a bit of a draft going into turn 1. And once again, most of the field single file until you look back to P8. Brendan John Kohler, Jackson Crowder going at it with Ryan Doucette in the background.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be big there. They have to manage this one well. But these tyres starting to show the age now. We're going to start to see a few looser trucks, I think, here. It depends how to set them up, though. I mean, knowing Texas, I'd set up for a longer run in general. But I've seen it also go super short run. These guys are good, so yeah, betting on a long run, I think these guys will set their trucks up a little bit loose early on, so that they're running good about now.
And I was about to ask that question, whether you'd want to go for a looser setup here at Texas, knowing how hot the track temps usually are, or would you rather go for a tighter set and knowing the circumstances? Some drivers getting loose at this point in the stage, so I think you had the crystal ball there earlier in the race, Rachel, calling the fact that around 25 laps into a run is where we were really going to see drivers stepping out sideways or smacking into the outside wall. We've seen that a lot, most notably out of turn 2. And then you look at the patience level you have to have on the throttle in that part of the track, because we take a look at the differences between one half of Texas and the other. 3 and 4, almost full throttle. You're all the way through. It's not necessarily a place where you have to modulate the throttle all too much. Turns 1 and 2 is, though, in dirty air, under worn tires. You're going to have to at least some point maybe use the brake on entry of the corner just to roll through the apex. So how patient do you have to be when it comes to applying the throttle out of turn 2?
With every lap that goes by, more and more and more, because that truck just hasn't got the same get up and go as it once did in this race. So with every lap, it's kind of a feeling you've just got to work through there, just see what it's willing to give you and asking a little bit more.
Here's a look on board on the rear side of Parker White, who is still eyeing on second place Blaze Crawford. I talked about that gain that Crawford had there on your race leader, but right now that has since stagnated. In fact, it has inflated. The gap between them has 0.4 of a second and slightly growing. The lap times, though, are relatively similar, so it's not like Crawford is out of this completely just yet. But, I mean, still to watch for. I think Parker White has definitely been able to hold that Ford truck at bay for the time being. But Kenny Brady cannot be able to hold off the pressure here by Kevin King. And what a run it's been, Rachel, for this 29. He needs a run like this to be able to advance into contender, and he's doing just that right now as we cross the line for lap 52.
Yeah, he's doing everything he needs and a little bit more. He's really put a good run in so far, and I'm excited to see how he can finish this, because he's got right to the front here on a later run.
Now the next trucks in line, Tucker Minter, Blaze Crawford, and as aforementioned, your race leader, Parker White, who will look to carry this race through into the final 48 laps. Remember, we had a caution at around lap 16. Field came down pit road. Everybody did. There were no split decisions or anybody staying out for the track position on the restart. So with this call, everybody collectively on the same page, and they cannot theoretically make it to the end of this race on fuel. So as we're starting to push lap 37 of a stint, Rachel, fuel strategy is going to come in mind, because that caution tragically altered the main plan for the race, if it had gone green, you'd most likely expect a lot of guys to push it to halfway, have the one pit stop, and be over to the race. But now that they've pitted once already, they're going to need to pit one more time if they want to make it.
I think this makes it better. I think it makes it racier for them if they're going to have more than one. Because rather than being a maybe, we can go halfway and have atrocious tyres twice. This makes it more comfortable for a lot of drivers to push a little bit harder. So I think it's changed it for the better.
You know, I don't think I would want to be in a situation where worn tires at a hot track in Texas, that would be just a terrible situation. It's like going to Phoenix at 130 degrees and then having your tire shot if you're exiting out of any type of corner. It is absolutely ridiculous. And even though we do have some rather high downforce trucks here on tap, it's going to be very different once we get to the likes of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series, where we've got the Xfinity cars. Those have a lot more power, roughly 650 horsepower. And then you've got the small spoiler, barely any downforce, and taking care of the rears are even more important than taking care of the rears here on this truck. So we'll just see the drivers that do advance, how patient they have to be with that. And for right now, it looks like fresh tires are going to be the premium as we are slowly edging in to our round of green flag pit stops on our first and maybe our last for this race here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Just a reminder that our coverage tonight of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series on Podium Esports is brought to you by Boosted.biz. Boosted builds a custom platform for your brand to sell your products. They take care of everything. You can pay nothing and let them handle the rest. To get started with your online store, visit Boosted.biz today. Rachel, I think that's going to be sad. I think it's the last time we may have a Boosted.biz read here.
Well, let's see. Maybe will, maybe it won't be. I hope someone else decides they like hearing about Boosted.biz, because I know I like hearing about it. It's a fantastic service. But out on track, these drivers, they are trying to boost their own biz at the moment, because we're starting to see them spread out here and really push this thing. But half a second for white, and then it starts to really get into a knot here of trucks as they run around this track here. Everything's really shot itself equal. I think we're going to see people really good late in this pit cycle, though, when they want to come in, because nobody wants to be early, especially if this all goes horribly wrong in pit road.
And for one note here, you look at that green and purple truck on the outside here of Kyle Myers. This is the battle, by the way, for 16th of Vila. Johnny Avila, remember we talked about him further down underneath the cut line. He was total of 10 points below the top 22 going into tonight. And although he had somewhat of a strong opening run, it seems as though this second run hasn't treated him very well at all as he continues to free fall through the field. And he may have a shot here from Matt Cooker. Indeed, he does. Both of them going side by side for a position that is for 17th on the track. Remember, only 22 trucks, and now it's only 21 as Dalton Collins, he had some contact out of turn 4 a little earlier in tonight's race. Didn't have the chance to show you the replay of exactly what happened, but Collins had called it quits. Maybe that is the difference between him getting into the Contender Series later this year or having to wait until next year to try it all over again. We'll just have to see. But Johnny Avila in a very tough and treacherous spot as we cross the line for lap 60 of 100 into the final 40 laps of this race. So we probably know green flag run right now. Pit stops under green are probably inevitable at this point. So if you're a driver like Parker White up at the very front, or even if you're a guy like Brendan John Kohler who you ride on board with right now in P10, what do you do to gain track position?
I don't know. Right now, with everyone being so looking at tires, I don't think there is much you can do. You're in your bed and you have to lie in it. This is the position where you've really kind of made those decisions with the setup, with the where you've run the tires so far. It's where you hold on for the pit stop and then you try and make something happen then. Maybe this is when you make a call on when you come for that pit stop. Early might be good.
And I think we already have some drivers blasting over chat and radio when they're going to come down pit road, and the answer seems to be at this mark of the race. Cross the flag for 39 laps to go. Kevin King, I believe, went over the radio, said he is pitting in. Same deal for Blaze Crawford and your race leader. Multiple others behind it. Big slide and almost contact there for Tucker Minter.
No. Did they make their minds up? That was across the grass.
Oh, that was very close.
This is why I told you about green flag stops in Texas can go horribly wrong. That was a critical example of horribly wrong. I really thank the drivers for demonstrating that for me.
And by the way, as well, Rachel, those were two Logitech G Altus esports drivers that got in trouble. It started with James Wenzel, who did not anticipate the huge checkup from Jackson Crowder, and then Tucker Minter went for a Tokyo drift around the outside. Brandon McKissick had to get out of harm's way. He also made a slide through the inside of the racetrack, caught the grass. Fortunately, everyone able to save it. No huge pit road penalties for now, but that does shake up the field. And fortunately for Minter, he's locked in to the Contender Series, but his teammate James Wenzel isn't. So that may be the difference between getting in and getting out, and that's going to really hurt or help track position. We'll see what happens as Kenny Brady, who had stayed out on the last lap, he's going to now hop on the brakes, and he comes in to pit road for his potential final stop in this evening's race.
Yeah, well, this has definitely gotten to the point of surprise. I was thinking that would be. Definitely not the ideal situation for the guy who ended up because of grass. I'm not sure who that was there, but they have the brown fire suit now.
And it's definitely not the place you want to be in. And we talk about Texas Motor Speedway. You highlighted it, Rachel, just how tough it is to hop on the brakes and get onto the entrance and make pit road speed limit. Because it's not only braking and turning at the same time, which these trucks and even other stock cars in the NASCAR ladder don't really like to do all too much. Then you end up in a situation where either you're going too fast or you're going too slow. You're going to bleed off time if you're going too slow, but then you can get a penalty that can pretty much end your race and a chance at winning if you go too fast. So there's that balance of trying to risk and having the reward if you can get it. And for right now, a couple of drivers have maintained their stay out on the racetrack. The last driver so far, Brandon McKissick, although his truck was basically sideways in the middle of 3 and 4, he'll lock up the front tires, but he will make pit road speed limit. And for now, McKissick is going to be on the pit lane. Boyd Hogan, Casey Tucker, first two staying out for the moment, but Parker White is rapidly approaching. He's already unlapped himself, and he's going to look to take the net race lead by the time this all cycles through.
Yeah, he will, and this is one of the things you've got to really watch out for with this one is this way this works. You've got to be really careful when you go for this start because you can put yourself in real trouble. The tyre difference is massive, but so's getting caught a lap down.
So there's a look at Boyd Hogan, our Pocono winner from earlier this season. Casey Tucker, both of them 8th and 9th in the Road to Pro point standings going into this race from Texas. So safe to say they don't really have much to worry about. They can go for this call if they'd like. They are practically locked in, not officially locked in like the top 7, but they are basically almost there. So they need a solid race, and they're going to go for some fresh tires later than everybody else. We'll see where they merge out. But officially, Parker White will cross the line here, lap number 67, 34 laps to go from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, and he will have the race lead by almost about a second over the number 4 of Blaze Crawford. Just a reminder that as we continue into the final leg of the final race in this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, I want to remind you for just a short moment that this coverage on Podium Esports is brought to you by Battle Beaver. Battle Beaver has everything you need for your next professionally modded custom controller with options for PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, and more. Battle Beaver has everything you need to elevate your gaming potential. Head to battlebeavercustoms.com to customize your controller, and you can use the code PODIUM for 10% off today. It's been a challenge, Rachel, to stop Parker White, hasn't it? I know Blaze Crawford has been close to striking distance, but really hasn't been there. And there may be the time left in this race, 30 laps to go, so still a while before Crawford can officially get up to White and make it a proper battle for the race lead. As here's a look at Kevin King, who had such a strong run, Rachel, moving up to the top 3 at one point there in that last stint. He's fallen back to 6, but he's got some trucks up ahead of him, so not entirely pointless here as he works on Santiago Tires for 5th.
Yeah, absolutely, and gonna keep an eye on how he does that one because right now Jarvis is looking pretty reasonable with, but if I go ahead of him, he's still getting a good draft from that, so it's gonna be harder, I think, as I say that I eat my own words, as King just dives straight under there. King once again proving he really has got some good potential here, but Jarvis as well has moved his way up the field pretty significantly as well.
And Gutierrez, unfortunately not in contention for the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series, but we've seen a lot of spotlights out of Gutierrez. He is a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. I know a couple of years back that he was in the top level of eNASCAR racing. As you ride on board with Kenny Brady, he's going to move up to 8th. This is a pass here into turn 1 on James Wenzel in his number 43 machine. He's got Jackson Crowder up ahead the road. Crowder, the winner at the virtual Michigan International Speedway. We had a fantastic race over there a while back in our split, and here Brady goes underneath the fellow other 54. We've got custom numbers here tonight, so we see two 54s out of the racetrack. A little trippy, but both of them bearing different paint schemes, and Brady will make that pass officially complete for 7th. He's got Santiago Gutierrez and the likes up ahead the road. You look at James Wenzel there. He's wearing a very similar paint scheme to a lot of other trucks in this field and even in the other split. Logitech GLTC Sports, by now in this 2022 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series, Rachel, if you don't know them, then you may be living under a rock, because they have been one of the standout teams, and they may just be a team to be worrying about into contender later this year, with Michael Cozy Jr. locked in, with Tucker Minter locked in, with Ryan Doucette on the way there as well to make it later this year. And the fact that they put on an absolute clinic in not only our split 2 weeks ago at Bristol Dirt, but in both, occupying the top 3 in each of those races. An unbelievable feat for that team.
Yeah, it's been an impressive example of teamwork and how that could really benefit you as an organization, and they've definitely put on a fantastic display.
They have definitely put on a solid display here tonight, with Wenzel trying to point his way in, with the likes of Tucker Minter being very consistent tonight. Ryan Doucette necessarily hasn't been the outright fastest driver in this race, but given his point scenario where he sits 14th on the standings, he doesn't need an outstanding effort. He doesn't need a spotlight race. He just needs an uneventful one without any contact, without any significant drama, and he should be advancing into November's eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. Here's a look back at Kevin King for the team. His 29 truck has been fast, and he is not afraid to show it this time. He'll dive into turn 1. Daniel Budafoco will give him some space. He'll pinch him a slight bit into the 20 degrees of banking, but Kevin King looking to move in a P4 out of turn 2.
Yeah, he's definitely been one that's been pushing his way through here, and he's worked his way up since this pit stop cycle, so I'm excited to see how far up he can get here, especially with the pit cycle dragging the numbers back down again. But the gap between second, third, and where he is going to be a big jump.
Budafoco definitely let him by, didn't want to fight him too much. I saw they had a little exchange over the radio, but probably just a little respect there to say, hey, I'll let you by. And Kevin King probably giving a thank you here. Here's a look on board with second place Blaze Crawford. And we talked about the gap opening up to about a second after the green flag round of stops. And with 25 laps to go, that gap has shrunk 0.7 of a second. The difference in the change, and it's 0.2 of a second here this time through at the start-finish line. 30.763 for Crawford, 30.840 for White. So Rachel, is this Parker White just trying to save his tires for the rest of the race, or is this Blaze Crawford being ridiculously fast at this point?
Yeah, no, and see, this is a really hard position to be in, because we're on lap 77 here, 3/4 of the way down, and I don't know if it's enough, really, with the point standings as they are currently. I don't think the ground can be made up, and I don't see us getting another caution here. I'm going to change my vote here from 2 to just that 1. These guys have not made any of the follies I expected that they might for a Texas race.
As Crawford continues to look onwards to the race leader. Remember, Crawford comes into tonight 16th in the point standings, a total of roughly 13 points above the top 20. It looks to be a total of 15 points above the top 22, because again, I mean, we've had the top 20 in mind for the entirety of round 2, but with those announcements, Logan Clampett, Liam Brotherton making their way out of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, both of them some great drivers in their own respect. Logan Clampett, one of the legendary men behind the wheel in Coke Series history. Liam Brotherton, an absolutely fantastic personality, always cheerful, always happy, always providing a lot of entertainment whenever he's on camera, and a very talented driver behind the wheel for Elliott Sadler Esports. It's going to be so unfortunate seeing them step away from the top level of eNASCAR racing, but we wish them the best of luck moving forward. But that's why we have 22 in from Road to Pro instead of 20. We're still going to have the bottom 20 from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series make their way in to the Contender Series, but it's going to be the 22 just to make up for those two drivers retiring. We'll see any more news if that develops later on throughout the year and as the Coke Series season comes down to a very end. But what I'm anticipating here is that Blaze Crawford is putting pressure on Parker White, but I feel like he may be burning up his stuff. Crawford has nothing to lose. Parker White, he's going to be saving tires anyway, regardless of the situation, even if he's locked into the next round. So it may just be, in my mind, Parker White saving, Crawford trying to push, and maybe Crawford pushes too hard because there's still a lot of time left in the event.
Definitely is, and this time gap is coming down still. Last time by 31.08 and a 31.04, so it's 0.04 of a second there to White Crawford. Minter, he's actually faster than Crawford, so that gap is starting to slowly come down.
It is starting to come down, but one thing that Tucker Minter has to worry about is Kenny Brady behind him. If Minter set a 31 flat faster than your top two leaders, then Brady is the fastest out of the bunch in the top four, because he set a 30.941. So not only does maybe second place Crawford have to worry about Tucker Minter a little bit if they're catching up in the last half of this race, they're going to have to worry about Kenny Brady and even Kevin King behind them. Both of them have been very quick over this run, and they have been some of the stronger ones over the long run, most notably. And at 29, he'll be creeping up on that 54 rather quickly. So we'll see, but Tucker Minter is going to look to be under fire first before he can put the fire to Blaze Crawford when it comes down for second out on the racetrack. Parker White will come across the start-finish line. He will head for 17 laps to go, and Kenny Brady hunting down on the 10. Could this be a battle, Rachel, before the race is over?
I think it could be a battle. It's getting a lot closer here, but it's going to be a tight one as they come into this deal, as Brady really could have it in this race. I think so. Minter hasn't been as quick.
You look at Tucker Minter, a multi-time winner in this 2022 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series campaign. Got his first one at the short track at Richmond, and I remember calling that, and that ended up with Minter being able to bounce back after some struggles earlier on. He took the checkered flag. That was his first win of the season, but then came Kansas Speedway, an unbelievable finish to the end against Daniel Budafoco. He was able to beat the number 13 by the time they got to the line. That was his second win, and then did it two more times in round number 2. He had the even split win on FTF.GG at IRP, the short track earlier in August 18th. And then he had the win just a couple of weeks back. We talked about Logitech Gialtis Esports' complete clinic on the field, 1, 2, 3 in both splits. That second split, we covered Jordi Lopez Jr.'s first win in the first split, but that second split, Tucker Minter was able to go to victory lane, and he's also riding a high of momentum. One of the 7 locked in to the Contender Series, but Kenny Brady, who's also another lock driver, is really starting to put the fight up as Crawford continues to fall back. It's now 0.7 of a second between him and Parker White, so with 15 laps to go, either they need a caution or they need something to change dramatically if they do not want Parker White taking the win.
Yeah, Parker White's looking pretty strong right now, although we just saw, I think Brady just got through on Minter, but Minter might be looking at a comeback here. The undercut, as he's not going to quite... Oh, he touches him, puts him sideways, gets him loose down the back straight. We nearly had a caution there with 13 to go.
They made contact there. Brady went for a wiggle. I think Minter might have apologized over the radio, but some heavy competition here, and guess who that invites? Kevin King in the 29, the perfect site for the team Chevy Silverado. After starting 10th at tonight's race, he's worked up into the top 5, and this may be a 2-for-1 opportunity here coming at 12 laps to go. Last time by, set a 31.3, significantly faster than Brady and Minter collectively. So Kevin King's journey to the front may not be over just yet as he closes in on Minter and Brady, who, by the way, Rachel, are starting to kick out the rear end at a turn 4.
They are starting to get the rear end loose here, and this is what we're seeing on a longer run here, especially with the hotter track. I think it's getting a little bit difficult to keep these trucks in a straight line, but I think anything towards this end could really screw up the end of this race. I don't know what we do. I think we're definitely going to get pitting, but out of fuel, which means a much lighter truck on fresh tyres could handle very differently. I think we'd see a bit of a mess if they did, in fact.
So as we continue to watch this battle for third, Kenny Brady, Tucker Minter, and Kevin King, we'll keep an eye on them, see if any changes happen. Minter is still within distance here to get around this 54, so it may not be quite over as we get underneath. 10 laps to go. Parker White leading this race to give you an update for our folks at home watching this on Podium Esports. If you're not tuned in to the other broadcasts on FTF_.gg or FTF_GG on Twitch, it's FTF.gg the name, but underscore on the Twitch username. They're getting to the end of their Texas race respectively in the second split. They're now within 5 laps to go. Seth the Merchant is your current race leader. He's trying to hold off Joey Brown and Andrew Navarro, who are second and third. Brown and Navarro locked in. The Merchant Company around the top 5 on back, all trying to get into that very sacred top 22. So we'll have the results for that race near the end, and then we'll have our results tonight. We'll see exactly how it all converges together to bring us the field and the grouping that'll go into the Contender Series later this year. And how about this battle still going on, Rachel, between Minter and Brady? If you're any one of these guys, Minter and Kevin King, what do you try to do? Do you just try to do anything different, maybe look for some clean air, or do you just hold your position and just wait for somebody to make a mistake?
I think right now you've got to hope for a mistake, but you've also got to make that mistake happen, because there's not a lot of laps left and you've got to make it happen. So time to make it yourself, I think, unfortunately, which could get messy.
And I've seen the opportunity arise a couple of times with Kenny Brady. He's gotten significantly sideways, but then most of the time when he kicks out the rear end, so does Tucker Minter. So they basically just equalize off of each other. And what I've also noticed is that in dirty air, you watch Tucker Minter open the gap up before he closes it out. Going out of turn 2, it seems like he's using more of a backup, go fast on the exit approach. Kenny Brady just kind of holding his own ground through most of the corner. But Tucker, you can tell, he's trying all that he can to get as much exit speed as possible. This time through, though, Brady's going to go for a bit of a wiggle. He's going to slow up out of turn 4. So can Tucker Minter make the move? He's going to look under, going to the kink on the exit of the quad oval. Tucker Minter back underneath for third.
Yeah, he's got it back there where he needed it to be, but there's still plenty of time left for this to get colourful, depending as they go. But this is going to be a real battle here. I think first, second, and third have checked out. They're nowhere near. This battle's for fourth, and there are 3 trucks involved. You got King, you got Minty, you got Botafogo, and right now, I think King is going to be the one that really has to push here if he wants to get something from this, but he has the opportunity.
And this is looking like a favorable spot for Kevin King. Remember some of the drivers that he is going against, the likes of Wyatt Kinsley, the likes of Brendan John Kohler, Kyle Myers, Daniel Smallwood, Garrison Hogan, Daniel Falkingham, Timmy Holmes. Some of them, or basically all of them, around in that second split. I saw Wyatt Tinsley in the top 5 as they were going to the white flag. It looks like Seth the Merchant has crossed the start-finish line. He takes the checkered, but as we close in on the final 5 laps, it is looking like a locked-in driver getting to victory lanes. Things can still change as you ride on board with Kevin King. He has yet to do anything to get around Kenny Brady or Tucker Minter. It's been a tough road up until this point. And for right now, no significant movements, but Parker White looking to close this thing off in the final 4 laps under green.
Certainly will do here. Not a lot of laps left to go at this point in time. This is our real battle we're keeping our eyes with here as we get down to the real wire on this thing, and this is going to be for all the cookies. Well, some cookies.
Oh, some cookies, yes. So some drivers are going to unfortunately get eliminated. Remember, we're going from 70 drivers in a bulk into round 2, 20 drivers in a group out of round 2. It's total 50 drivers getting eliminated, and then you can even make the argument from the elimination of round 1 to round 2, where it's top 70 getting into round 2, and it's hundreds of drivers, if not thousands of drivers, signing up for races across the Road to Pro calendar. In that first round, it is slimmed significantly, and it's going to slim even further here once we have our full confirmation. Split number 2 has gone to an end from Texas, so they'll have the official results. They'll get their point standings listed up, who gets in, who gets out. For us, still those 3 laps left. Tucker Minter trying to hold off Kenny Brady and Kevin King. They are, by the way, bringing in the likes of Daniel Botafogo and Jackson Crowder, so they may make it a quintuplet group before this race is all said and done. But Parker White catches the start-finish line and grabs 2 laps to go from Texas.
Certainly does here. And wow, it's going to be 2 final major laps. 2 seconds over Crawford. That is an insane way to wrap up the series.
And 1.9 seconds and growing. We saw Crawford close in to about 0.2 of a second, but has fallen off ever since. Parker White will come out of turn 4, and he will grab the white flag from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway in the final race of this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Parker White has been absolutely dominant after his first win came at the Bristol Motor Speedway and did it all over again at Charlotte. Did it a third time to kick off round 2 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. He was locked into the Contender Series going into tonight's race, but this win only adds on to the momentum for the young main driver. Parker White wins from Texas and takes the win in the final race of Road to Pro this year.
Fantastic run there, and what a way to end this one with a massive statement heading towards Contender for Parker White.
White crosses the line first. It'll be second for Blaze Crawford. Tucker Minter able to keep Kenny Brady and Kevin King at bay. There's a look at him giving the congratulations to the number 95. Looks like Daniel Budofoco would do the same before White starts his celebrations. And there he goes by. Parker White, an unbelievable season put together. From round 1, we knew he would be a talent to behold. And here he is, burning it down in the final race of round number 2, only solidifying that golden ticket into Contender in November.
Burning it down there across the start-finish line for White. Definitely a cap on the season, and a statement made there, as we'll hopefully get a chance to see what we get with these points here, because this will be really, really interesting for those top few places remaining.
Of course, we will get updates for you on the point standings as they go through. Remember, we had our even split coverage, and just a couple of moments ago, at least the race did set the Merchant the winner there. But it's Parker White the winner here on this odd split on Podium Esports. He takes the win by 2 seconds flat over Blaze Crawford. Crawford tried to get to the 95 in the closing stages of the race, but just could not do it. Crawford, though, going to walk away with a heap of solid points in his favor. Tucker Minter closes off the last race of Road to Pro into P3. He will have Kenny Brady behind him. Once they cross the start-finish line, Brady ends up into P4. It'll be top 5 for Kevin King after starting in 10th, but a great move through the field for the 29 all race long, and this could solidify his spot into Contender later this year. Daniel Budofoco ends up P6. It'll be 7th for the number 22 of Jackson Crowder, 8th for Santiago Tires, 9th for the Logitech G Altus Esports truck of James Wenzel, and Rachel Whiteford rounding out your top 10 will be the number 96 of Boyd Hogan.
11th place, Ryan Deschette there with Brendan John Kohler in 12th place, Kyle Mayers in the 13th spot, Matt Cocker in 14th, Johnny Avila 15th with Casey Tucker 16th, Brandon McKissick 17th, Garrison Hogan in 18th, Alex Bergeron 19th, Daniel Nanny 20th, Dalton Collins 21st, and Brian Blackford 22nd.
So that's your entire field here in this first split of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series from Texas Motor Speedway. We are still awaiting the final word from all the points talliers of who exactly is going to be locked in. We know going into tonight's race that the top 7 are secured after Bristol Dirt, those being Tucker Minter, who finishes 3rd in this split tonight, Parker White, who wins the split tonight from Texas, Joey Brown, who finished well in the 2nd split, Andrew Navarro, who is 4th in the point standings, locked in. Same deal for Jody Lopez, locked in into the top 5. Kenny Brady, who finishes 4th in this split tonight, he is 6th in the points. He was also locked in, and so was Logitech G Altus Esports driver Michael Cozy Jr. We're awaiting everybody else the next 15 for the moment. But Rachel, what a race it was from Texas, and we were expecting long green flag runs. We got them, albeit we had one caution at lap 16, but it went green all the way through. We saw some solid strategy. We saw the tires fall off in this hot Texas sun. We saw some moves throughout the field, but Parker White puts on an absolute show after starting on pole, never left that spot since the drop of the green virtually, and takes the win.
Yeah, he really did put an absolute marker on this. And it just shows how potent a driver he's been this season overall, because it's really given him a phenomenal had a steam going into this. This is the kind of thing you want going into the Contender Series. This is what will make the Coke guys really notice.
So again, we are still trying to count in all the points here. We've got a Google Sheet up in front of us exactly updating. We've got some of the people trying to get the official stats and how things ended from the split that we just finished here tonight in this one, our coverage here on Podium Esports, and then the coverage alongside on FTF_GG. So we do have the official results on this stage here. So it's giving the points to Parker White, of course, 40 points to his tally as he takes the win, giving points to everybody else. And for right now, it looks like it may just be Tucker Minter locked in, Parker White locked in as well, Joey Brown, Andrew Navarro, Kenny Brady, Jody Lopez Jr., Seth the Merchant, who takes the win in the second split, Michael Cozy Jr., who was locked in before tonight's race. It looks like Boyd Hogan is going to be in, Blaze Crawford, who finishes second tonight, also going to be in. Christopher Hill is going to manage to advance as well. Tyler Gary, Jonathan Delaney, Ryan Doucette, Casey Tucker, Brandon McKissick, Daniel Budafoco, Wyatt Tinsley, Christopher Pfeffer, and Kevin King. There's a look on the front of your screen. We had a little bit of time, and our producer Ryan Bauer, a big thanks to him for showing this in the front of the screen. So this is what it looks like theoretically right now after the results have been pushed into the iRacing service. So this basically, Rachel, our confirmed field of the drivers heading in to the eNASCAR Contender Series later this year. Now, again, we do have those two retirements with Logan Clampett and Liam Brotherton, so you can add Daniel Falkingham and Brendan John Kohler to the list as well.
That would be huge, yeah. We'll have to see how that plays, but huge for King, though. He's basically put himself in a really safe spot with those two openings positions behind him, so this has been big.
And you look at the gap there to Kyle Myers, who's out by 2 points. James Wenzel, despite his efforts tonight and despite finishing inside the top 10 in our split here on Podium Esports, he is just a couple of points out as well. Same deal for Timmy Holmes, 7 points out of the top 20, roughly 6 points out of the top 22. Jake Nichols, Daniel Smallwood, Drew Freenarge. You look at Agnell Phillip. He's had a consistent round number 2, but unfortunately could not pass through the hump. Same deal for Garrison Hogan, who didn't really have the greatest race here tonight as he finishes 18th in this respective split. Tommy Gossett, Johnny Avila, who had some struggles tonight. Dalton Collins, who left this race early. Alex Bergeron, Matt Forcappa, Connor Horn, Jackson Crowder, Eddie Kerner, Santiago Tires, among many others that unfortunately are not breaking through the barrier and will not enter the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series later this year. They'll have to try again in 2023. So our full field basically confirmed all the points in, and it's going to be super exciting, Rachel, for all of those guys being able to advance, and now they get to get that sigh of relief and be able to say, okay, I've done all the work, and now I'm able to move through.
Yeah, it is, and it's a big relief, I think, for everybody that either they're in or they're out, but they know where they're going now. And what has been a tricky second round has come to a conclusion.
All right, well, we've got our points. Let's get our drivers here on the interview tally, and we'll start with the one who gets to victory lane. Parker White takes it all here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Parker, just give us your thoughts on this win. I know you were already locked in to the Contender iRacing Series before we even kicked off tonight. You were already locked in at the end of the Bristol Dirt Race after finishing well there. But give us your thoughts about starting on pole tonight, leading basically every single lap, and taking this race dominantly.
Yeah, both of our setups, both our qualifying and race setup was really good. At least our race setup was really good and cleaner. And qualifying, I just kind of went into turn one, took it conservative, and doing that, I was able to get a really good run off turn two, and I got the pole by about just over half a tenth. So I was happy about that. My only concern there was I'd have to somehow find a way to save fuel, but that didn't end up mattering because we got a yellow around lap 15 or so. So we all came, got tires, and I just ran as hard as I could because the truck was actually pretty tight, and in testing we got extremely loose around like the lap 15 to 20 area. So I just kept running as hard as I could because I was like, it's going to break loose any moment here. But that never happened. So I took note of that on the second run. And my original plan was to come in a lap after Blaze and Tucker were. But I heard them all caught on the radio that they're pitting that same lap. And with how bad dirty air is here, I didn't want to put myself in traffic. So I took the safe route, pit with them, and Blaze was able to run me down a lot. And if dirty air wasn't a thing, like I told Blaze after the race, if dirty air wasn't a thing, he probably could have gotten by me, because if he would have gotten by me, I would have probably not been able to pass him because I was so tight and dirty air. But yeah, really good race for us, and glad I could get it done.
I was about to mention that Crawford trying to run you down there in the last 25 laps or so, but you were able to outlast him and win by 2 seconds. And this race, of course, adding on to an exclamation mark, really, Parker, out of this entire 2022 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. You've already touched your win. Came first at Bristol Motor Speedway back in round number 1. You got a second win at Charlotte, the third win to kick off round 2 at Mid-Ohio, and then getting this one here from Texas Motor Speedway to close it all off. What does it mean for you, NASCAR level, and others that have been in the sim for so long?
Yeah, it really means a lot to me. I really wanted to get another win here in round 2, especially on oval, because the last time I won on an oval was all the way back in about April or May, and but about a year ago at this time, I had joined NFR for just about a month at this point, and we were getting ready for the Contender Series, and I was guys like Colin Keister, Colin Bowden, Santi Tierez, and just I couldn't have even imagined like a year later that I would be racing. It means a ton to me, like with how skilled everybody in the Contender Series is. It's not going to be easy, but I'm really glad I was able to get a win to get some momentum to get into Contender.
And I mentioned earlier in the broadcast watching you when you were around 2.5. Weight is lifted off your shoulders because you know you're through, you know you've done all the hard work in Road to Pro. But now here comes the second step, eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series, where you get back to work.
I'll probably take a couple weeks off because I'm gonna try to get into road racing a bit. I've really been enjoying that. I'm gonna run a ton of B Open because I've really enjoyed that car. We've been building that all year, and we kind of got it figured out. And the B car is also my favorite car in the game, so I can't wait for the Contender Series. It's gonna take a ton of work. Even road to part was a lot of work with the truck. You're just so close, and you have to nail it. But yeah, the B car is gonna be even harder. So can't wait to get there.
Of course, some well-deserved time off after all of the work you've put in here in this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Parker, on behalf of our entire team here at Podium Esports, want to thank you so much for taking some of your time to talk with us after this win at Texas, and a huge congratulations on your win here to close off round number 2. I think it's kind of fitting. You win on Podium Esports in the first split in round number 2 to start off in Mid-Ohio, and then you do it to end the round here at Texas Motor Speedway. Pretty cool. Well, Parker, again, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Wishing you the best of luck moving forward, and we'll see you in Contender.
All right, thank you.
So that is Parker White getting to victory lane as he takes another checkered flag here in this 2022 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. And he is already locked in to the next round. And so is the driver who finishes in P2, Blaze Crawford, into Contender. And he's caught up with our very own Rachel Whiteford.
Blaze, it's got to feel good to be at the end of this real journey, and a turbulent one at that, of the Road to Pro Series. How's it feel?
It really, I don't think it's really sunk in yet. I've been trying to get into pro and be competitive on racing for a long time, and to finally all put it together and make the pro series, it kind of seems like a dream come true. It's pretty awesome.
It certainly has been, and it's been an up and down season as well for you. It's been a powerful one, but it's also had its down points.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. At the very beginning of the year in the first round, I wrecked out of the very first race, and I had told myself, oh, here's just another year of just not making it and trying again next year. But we pushed through, and just knocked off good finishes and really just put a whole season together. And it really just, it's so satisfying to finally get it done.
It certainly must be. Obviously, heading towards Contender Series. What are you expecting?
Well, since it's my first time in the Pro Series, I'm just gonna kind of take it all in, enjoy it, take it as a learning experience, and hopefully make it to the next round. But I know my guys at ESC and Lowline, they believe in me, and I believe in them. I can't thank Seth Reeder enough for taking the chance on me, and Donovan Strauss for giving me this opportunity with ESC last year, and just thinking of my first full year with them, making the Pro Series. I'm looking forward to what we can do here in the fall.
Oh, with that, is there anybody else you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
I'd like to thank, the whole team at ESC, Brendan, Seth, Elliot, everyone there who puts in work on these setups. It really showed tonight. We had a car to win, and we were that close. I want to thank my friends Max, Kenny, Donovan, I want to thank my grandfather for watching the race. Shout out to Cole and Casey watching up in North Georgia. I got to drive back up there later here after this interview. I just want to thank my family and everyone who's believed in me along this journey. It's uh, it's really satisfying and it's really awesome to make it to this point. So hopefully we can continue on from here.
So more thanks for joining us. Blaze Crawford coming home today, second. Moving on to contender.
Thank you guys.
A huge moment for Blaze Crawford as he officially advances into the series, the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series in November, and so will the driver we're talking to right now on behalf of Logitech GLTC Sports. We welcome in third place finisher from Texas, Tucker Minter. And Tucker, you were in the situation much like Parker White. You've got multiple wins in 2022 in this Road to Pro category. You were already locked in via points after that huge win with your team at the Bristol Dirt Motor Speedway. So walk us through what the mindset was like going into tonight's race from Texas and how you feel finishing third at the checkered.
Yeah, the mindset tonight, first and foremost, was to try to get all of our guys locked in, and it's looking like it's going to be really close for James. So we almost accomplished that. It's kind of close. So, but then on my end, I really wanted to kind of lock up both championships, and I thought that'd be kind of cool, and it looked like I was in a good spot. And then with Parker winning, that made it a little bit tighter, but it looks like according to the spreadsheet, we pulled that off. So it's a pretty exciting night.
Certainly very exciting. We'll touch on the dynamics of the team a little bit later on in this interview, but I do want to talk about the sequences on track. I know you had a little fight there with Kenny Brady, Kevin King around you there. How was that? Was that a little bit of fun racing with them in the final few laps?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I was pretty surprised by Parker and Blaze's pace. We kind of had Blaze and I had a bit of a tough pit road entry. It looked like he had his brake bias back a little bit far, so I don't know if that's where we lost time to Parker or what. But I ended up just I couldn't make any progress on them, and I was watching Kevin and Kenny run me down, and I thought they were gonna pretty easily get by me. And then Kenny passed me, and I tried to tuck into line and give him a push because I thought it would benefit both of us because I'd let him tow us, tow me along to hopefully catch Blaze. And I don't know if our bumpers misaligned or net code or I just hit him too hard or what because he got a little bit loose off and he almost wrecked on the backstretch, which I felt pretty bad about. So I was hoping that he'd kind of cool his tires off and then he'd end up driving away, I guess, and helping me and Kevin run down Blaze. But it ended up I think I made him a little too free when I ended up hitting him, and so I was able to pass him back.
So it's a third place for you tonight here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We do have word that a lot of your teammates, a bulk of them, are going to be advancing into contender alongside yourself. I know Jordy Lopez Jr. is going to be in, Seth the Merchant, who won in the second split here at Texas. He's going to be in. A couple other drivers like Ryan Doucette, Michael Cozy Jr. also going to be in as well. And this team watching over Road to Pro and even the years before that, it's felt like Logitech GLTC Sports has always been a huge force to be reckoned with the talent pool of drivers that they have, including yourself. So now moving into the Contender Series where this team has had a lot of experience in prior, how do you feel about the dynamics of you and your teammates moving forward and the confidence level that you guys have to try to make it into Coke next year?
I think we're definitely confident. It's just going to be about keeping the momentum going and just making sure that we're as good in the B car as we can be. The last couple years we've struggled. The previous team I was on, and Altus has struggled in qualifying, and then we've ended up buried in the races, and it's really hard to move forward in a series as difficult as pro or contender, I suppose. So, that's what's going to be all about is making sure that we're all ready to qualify and all going to, put all the laps in we need to prepare for the race. I think everybody's super energized. I know Jordy's ready to run a bunch of laps. I am, and everybody else is. I mean, I don't know how excited Merch is around the B car, but a lot of us are excited to switch over to the B car after running the truck for so long.
Well, a lot of momentum for sure, though, going into the Contender Series where a bulk of the team ends up in, including yourself after the third place here tonight from Texas. And of course, we thank you so much, Tucker, for spending some time to talk with us here on Podium Esports. Want to send you our congratulations on not only the third place finish here from the track tonight, but an advancement into the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series later this year. Wishing you and your team the best of luck heading to November.
Yeah, thanks for the broadcast, guys, and thanks to all our partners at Altus Esports. We've got Virtual Racing School and Logitech G as big partners, and then Race Tech and Cube Controls as well. It really help us a lot, off the track. And then thanks to my family for their support with my sim racing.
So Tucker Minter and his number 10 machine ends up into P3 here tonight from the Virtual Texas Motor Speedway. So with the finishing order official here from Texas in our split, with the official results in our second split, here's again a look at the drivers officially locked in. If you missed it, that little section right after the race and after our results where we touched on it prior, Tucker Minter is going to be leading the standings theoretically out of here. Obviously, that won't translate to the Contender Series, but the main important factor is that he's locked in. Parker White is in, Joey Brown is in, Andrew Navarro follows suit in fourth. Kenny Brady is into the top 5 in the point standings. He's locked in. Same deal with Jordy Lopez. Seth the Merchant, Michael Cozy Jr. among the other Logitech GLTC Sports drivers with Tucker Minter. You look at Boyd Hogan, our Pocono winner earlier this year. He's into Contender this year. Same for Blaze Crawford, who finishes second tonight in our split. Christopher M. Hill is 11th in point standings. He advances. Same deal for Tyler Gary. Jonathan Delaney, one of the workers for Junior Motorsports on the Coke Series at Tally. He's going to be into Contender, looking to get into Coke and compete, hopefully, with Brian LaPrade. Ryan Doucette ends up 14th in the point standings. Casey Tucker, 15th. Brandon McKissick, 16th. 17th to Daniel Budafoco. Wyatt Tinsley, who was on the cusp of the top 20 cut line going into tonight, ends up secured in 18th into Contender. Christopher Pepper is in. Same deal for Kevin King. And with the retirements right now, on behalf of the announcements by Logan Clampett and Liam Brotherton, that opens up 2 more spots into this next series, and that theoretically should give some secured spots to the likes of Daniel Falkingham and Brendan John Kohler. And then there's the difference between Kohler and Kyle Myers. Those 2 points, that difference between entering Contender and being out of it for 2022. So a huge thank you to everybody involved in the process of this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. For Gary Sexton and John Theodore here at Podium Esports, for our producer this evening, Ryan Bauer, our camera builder, Dougie Beard, our overlay builder, Michael Hall, Derek Watson, and Garrett Mashburn for all of our statistics, Cameron Auburnon covering our social media, and for my colleague in the booth for basically the entire season, Rachel Whiteford, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching our coverage of the final race of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, and we look forward to kicking things off in November for the opening round of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing series. We'll see you then.